1. I'm a service tech for an AV integrator, so my general day-to-day is going to different places and resolving issues with installed audio-visual systems in commercial spaces. Stuff as basic as a single laptop connected to a projector on a conference room table, all the way up to full-scale multi-system deployments across multiple locations. Not long ago, I got a service ticket for what was presented as a control issue. The customer stated that the PCs in their training room were no longer routing to the mounted displays. To elaborate, the bulk of the systems that we install involve a touch panel control system running custom programming that routes different sources to different destinations. Typically, PCs or video conference systems are routed to a projector or a TV installed in a room. This is typically accomplished using transmit devices that take a VGA, HDMI, DVI, etc. video signal and convert it to run down a Cat5, Cat6 line to a video switcher where it then gets routed to whatever device you choose that's typically mounted at the destination, TV, projector, etc. So I get on site and get to work. I ask the customer to please demonstrate the issue for me so I have a good idea of what's going on. There are about 20 or so PCs in this room, which are all able to be routed to 4 TVs on the wall in whatever configuration he chooses. So he wakes up a few PCs and proceeds to try to route them to a few different displays. No dice. I start trying to do this myself and begin checking the touch panel to make sure it's responding to commands properly. Everything seems to be responding without issue, so that tells me the control system is likely fine. My next move is to wake up every PC in the room and see if there's anything that I can route. While walking around and doing this, I try to get some more info from the customer about the issue. I ask when this started happening, and if anything had gone on in the days leading up to the problem. He says that their local tech team had been in the room recently to do some basic work on some of the PCs, but that's about it. He said that since the issue came up after they were done, he confronted them about what they did. The on-site techs were adamant that they didn't do anything that would have affected the AV system, and that this was not their fault. By the time we had this discussion, I had already woke up all the PCs and tried routing them one by one with no luck. So with the information that he had just given me, I decided that I needed to get under the tables and look at these PCs, as maybe a transmitter might need a reboot or something like that. I get to one of the PCs close to me, see the transmitter mounted under the table, check the connections at the device, confirm they're solid, and power cycle it. No change. So then I start digging through what was a mess of cabling next to the PC to check that video input. What do I see? Laying in the spaghetti mess is a disconnected VGA cable. I was a tad curious about that because the PC had DisplayPort connections already running out of it. But being that it also had a local monitor connected, things started to click. Just for jollies, I went ahead and connected the VGA cable to the PC, and went over to the panel and routed it. Bingo, I had a signal. Remember, there are at least 20 PCs in this room, so my next 30 to 40 minutes are spent going to each one of these workstations, getting underneath the table, digging through a mess of cabling, and reconnecting each individual VGA to its closest PC. Fun! To sum this up, it seems that someone had gone to every single workstation in this room and disconnected the VGA cable. My only guess at why would be that VGA is an older format and maybe they assumed it wasn't needed, since the local monitors all worked. But being that this system was a few years old and with other outputs being used, this may have been the only connection method available. I went to my customer, explained what I found, and then made sure to show him that each workstation was connected to the transmitters using the VGA port on the PCs. On one hand, he was pissed about the fact that the local folks had done this and then denied doing anything. But on the other, I think he got a bit of satisfaction that he was right. I demonstrated that the system was now functional, and answered any questions he had. He was satisfied. I went on my way. That high impedance air gap between a cable and its port can be a real pain in the ass when trying to put a signal out there. 2. I've been an IT consultant for more than a decade now, and make good money with my client portfolio. But occasionally, either the work slows down or I need some extra money. So when this happens, I reach out to a recruiter friend who is happy to match me on a short-term contract. About 5 years ago, I needed some extra cash for the holidays and decided to see if there were any desirable contract jobs in the area. After a few phone interviews, got an offer letter for a sweet gig. It was 3 months as an overnight level 2 tech, partially supervising the overnight shift at the help desk, and also taking the first stab at escalated tickets before holding them over for the day crew. I don't mind overnight shifts, a few extra dollars in shift differential hourly pay, and can't beat the traffic to and from work, all of which make day work overrated in my book. Anyway, ended up being a cakewalk of a job mostly. The phones were dead quiet. I spent my time running server updates, checking backups, and keeping a few level 1 techs honest. The occasional ticket that got pushed up to me was usually something that had to wait until a day shift systems administrator could work on it. But now time to get to the mostly part. For the sake of this story, let's just say that the company name was pretty generic, so I'll call it ABC Corp. More on that later, though. IT guy, I need your help with this ticket, the level 1 tech said over the phone. Sure, I got it. Transfer the call to me. Hello, give me a few minutes to review the ticket and I'll see how I can help you. Look, all I need is a password reset. I'm locked out of my account and I need to send this email before the office opens. Okay, can you give me your employee ID again? They give me their ID. That is way too many numbers. Where are you getting that from? It's right here in my employee ID card, under employee number. Well, it should be like 5 digits. Are you looking at... And then I go over a few different cards employees have to access doors, etc. Nope, none of that. It's on my employee ID with my picture. I'm staring right at it. Let's try this a different way. Can you give me the asset tag on your laptop? Okay, and then they give me the number on the sticker. That isn't the format of any of our asset IDs. Are you sure you are looking at our company sticker and not, say, the manufacturer serial number? Yes, right here. It says company asset right on the tag. I'm not some kind of idiot. Well, I'm pretty confused at this point because none of the numbers you are giving me are formatted like anything we have on file. How about you just give me your name and department again, and I'll see if I can find your user profile that way. I'm Jobot from Sales, Director of Sales, just like I said before. Hold on, let me check a few things. I put the guy on hold while I start scrolling through the users in Active Directory. I can't find anyone with a name that even remotely resembles this guy. None of this makes sense, so I'll just escalate it to the day shift and be done with it. So, sir, I can't find your account anywhere on the server, and none of the numbers you are giving me are in our system. I'm going to need to get some info to escalate this to our systems administrator with the day shift. All I need is my motherfucking goddamn shit-sucking password reset. You tech guys are completely worthless. He continues swearing for about the next 90 seconds. Look, the CEO needs this first thing in the morning, so you are going to need to get someone who is on call to take a look at this now. I did have an on-call systems administrator that I was told to only contact if absolutely necessary. But right before I was about to do that, I just wanted to check something. Oh, while this guy is berating me and swearing up a storm, I decided to see if I could find him on LinkedIn. After a few searches and wading through common connections, finally I get his profile to pop up. And there he is. Director of Sales for not ABC Corp, but a very similar sounding company in the area, which I will just call CBA Corp. Sir, you are aware that you call tech support for ABC Corp, right? This isn't CBA Corp tech support? No, I work for ABC Corp, and you called our tech support line. Shit, I just wasted the last 45 minutes talking to the wrong guys. It would appear so. How did you get this number? I just did a quick search on my phone and must have mistyped a few letters. I think I found the number you want to call. Here it is. Oh, thanks. My bad? They hang up. We don't tolerate that. Now, The story doesn't end with just a semi-rude hang-up and no apology. Turns out the call got flagged for some form of audit or follow-up, so some higher-up ended up listening to the recording a few weeks later. One thing led to another, and I got called into the manager's office at the end of my shift one day.
"We flagged a call you took a few weeks ago from Job Op in sales?"
"Oh yeah, I remember that call. Funny story. Ended up on the wrong tech support line."
"Yeah, we know. We listened to the call as part of our ongoing training program, and we're really concerned about how he acted to our employees."
I seem to remember he wasn't that nice, but no big deal.
"It's a big deal to me. I don't tolerate my employees being abused like that by anyone, especially the employee of another company."
The guy came off as a jerk, but
I had a nice long conversation with his boss over at CBA Corp, and was assured that they don't tolerate that kind of behavior either. Seems like Joe Bob will be looking for a new job soon.
Sure enough, when I got back to my desk, I looked up the guy on LinkedIn again. He was now looking for work. What goes around comes around. 3. I was a small-town computer tech. Some clients stand out from others. Part 1. A local motel wanted me to update their webpage. After a bit of conversation, they revealed that the website has disappeared and our email is not working. The guy we had before to do it is not talking to us now. They had no idea what to do. Major red flag, but I wanted to be helpful. The domain name was registered to that guy and would not expire for a few more years. The hosting was non-functional. My efforts to contact that guy by email and phone were all unsuccessful. I explained to the client about domain names and hosting, saying that unless they could talk to that guy, there was no way to regain their website.
"What? We need that website. We're losing business."
I said the only alternative was to buy a new domain name, set up web and email hosting, and create a new website.
"Can you get our website back?"
Thankfully, I had done a bit of research by that point and found their website on the Wayback Machine at archive.org. I informed them of that and that I could help them register a new domain name, get hosting, and reinstate their old website on the new domain name. They agreed. I made a choice, mistake though, that would come back to haunt me. I suggested that they deal with 2 different companies for the domain name registration and the hosting. This was due to my experience with previous clients who had their domain name and website held hostage by a single company for extortionate fees. Everything went well at first. I guided them through their domain name registration, then obtaining the hosting service. I recreated the website from the source code of their old website on the Wayback Machine, then updated their website, including taking new pictures myself for the website. We were all happy. A year goes by. They phone me, saying that the website was down, and their email was not working. It's my fault, and they want it fixed now. I investigate and find that the hosting is okay, but that the domain name registration expired. I tell them this, and ask if they paid for the renewal.
"I don't know anything about it. You're supposed to deal with that."
I reminded him that the year before he had registered and paid for the domain name registration himself, and that company would have sent him multiple reminders about the renewal. His response was that he should not have to deal with such things himself. Okay, you haven't lost a domain name yet. You just have to renew and the website will be back within a few hours. If you want, you can make me the main contact for renewals. Then I can deal with them for you.
"No, I will deal with them myself."
He renews the domain registration and the website comes back online. Exactly 1 year later, guess what?
"Our website and email are down again. What did you do?"
Very short investigation. The domain name registration expired again. You would have received multiple reminders about this.
"You're supposed to be dealing with these things. Fix it."
Sir, exactly 1 year ago, this same thing happened. When I helped you fix it, I asked if you wanted me to deal with it in the future. You said no.
I don't remember that. This is still your fault."
I again help him with renewing the domain name registration, but with a reminder that it was not my fault and that he was responsible for this in the future. Part 2. The other thing that this client didn't understand, even after I explained and warned him, was that internet search engines are literal. He and his wife called the business a lodge, not a hotel or a motel, but a lodge. It was essentially an 8 to 10 room motel. I suggested that their website included the words hotel and or motel as well as lodge, so internet search engines will return their website for searches for hotel and motel with the town name.
No, we are not a hotel or motel. We are a lodge. Anyway, we don't care about search results. All our business comes from word of mouth.
Okay, if they don't care, why should I? But guess what? You might guess it. During the second year, they call me up, complaining that their regular customers say they can't find the web page when they search the internet. I ask what they're searching for.
They're searching for a forest green motel. Why doesn't our website show the results?
I talked to you about this. You didn't want the words motel or hotel on your website. Thus, when someone searches for motel or hotel, they don't see your website. They see your website if they search for a lodge.
It shouldn't be that way. This is your fault.
I'm sorry, but I've had enough. I can't help you anymore. I did put the word motel on their web pages before I quit. That was 7 years ago, and their web pages have not changed one bit since then. At least their website is still up. 4. At the time, my company worked with a rewards vendor I will call Bigger Rewards. They were a little clunky, had a relatively limited selection, but very reliable. Things didn't break very often. Then one day, a communique went out that we were migrating away from them to a company I will call Bungles. They were supposedly a lot more flexible, an internet native, offered a very appealing website that was intuitive to use, etc., etc. So we migrated over. Shortly after the migration, I heard how their pitch meeting went. Bungles had some issues with their deck during the pitch, but they fixed those fairly quickly. The site also has some technical issues, but they explained those away. They also admitted that we would be one of their first clients, and that their company was relatively new. They characterized themselves as a startup that was internet built from the ground up, lots of buzzwords, etc. The technical folk were unimpressed. The company seemed young and immature. The business folks were also not impressed due to their flubs before and during the presentation. They weren't polished and didn't seem ready for a big contract like ours. Then Bungles mentioned their cost, which was easily under half of Big Rewards. And their website was actually quite appealing with a bigger selection than Big Rewards. And they did seem hungry for the business and were clearly full of hustle. And this internet thing did seem to be taking off. So management decided to give them our business. We switched over. I think the reasoning was, how bad can it be for more than half off? I and a few others were put in charge of supporting the product post-migration. We concluded rather quickly that the training from Bungles and all their available documentation was worthless. It was almost always inadequate or misleading. So I spent the next 4 to 6 months accumulating an internal library of tips and tricks and troubleshooting guides. We needed it as things were constantly breaking or behaving in unexpected ways. What particularly drove us mad were moments we began referring to as the lady vanishes. We would see an error or some kind of flaw and report it to Bungles support. They would turn right around and deny it ever existed. We would check, and of course by then it would be fixed. Some of our developers started laughing up their sleeves and implying, "Told you so." I heard one of them say that Bungles was clearly 2 or 3 people working in a garage on laptops balanced on top of beer kegs. At one point, things got so bad we staged a mutiny. If I remember correctly, that was the day someone wanted to return something. What they got via rewards was the wrong size and color, but Bungles didn't have a formal return process at the time. We also had 2 lady vanishes that day. That was the last straw. I bought some pirate flags, and we all put them on top of our desks and began talking like pirates. My flag was 5 feet wide on a pole that almost touched the ceiling. It could be seen from almost anywhere on our floor. We even sent a demand letter to our manager.
I wanted it over in red ink or blood on the parchment paper, but me fellow mutineers chickened out, and so we
and so we sent her an email. But it did have the word mutiny in the subject line and a JPEG of a skull and crossbones in the email signature. Arr. Our manager promised to look into it, and to her credit, both took us seriously and tolerated our pirate nonsense. Her largesse, I'm sure, was made easier since we all kept doing our jobs as best we could. This was a civilized mutiny by pirates who sometimes brought donuts to the office.
Fine sprinkles today, matey.
I know that she complained to the powers that be. The lack of a competent return process made her jaw drop. But nothing changed from management. Eventually, Bungles straightened some things out. They improved to the point of just being bad, but not criminally bad. In fact, I think Bungles is still the rewards vendor for my old company. After all, they are pretty cheap, and that's all that matters sometimes. I still have the pirate flag. I turned it into a cape for one of my kids. Oh, I forgot to mention a similar situation that happened years later, which really cemented in my mind my experience with Bungles. I was still with the company then, but didn't support Bungles anymore. In this case, my company had promised the moon and stars to a very big, very VIP, very demanding client. The result failed to meet most of the goals, and the client was quite frustrated. I was a little concerned, as supporting them was something of a step up for me, and I was struggling to make them happy. On a client visit a few months into the contract, I went out to lunch with my contact. I tried to be somewhat transparent about what we could and could not do, which she seemed to appreciate. Then, at the end of the lunch, she casually mentioned that switching to us saved them a great deal of money. After that, I stopped worrying. It turns out we were pretty cheap, and that's all that matters sometimes.
Yo-ho-ho, and a bottle of rum, it's a pirate's life for me. Arr.
5. A recent chat with my colleague reminded me of a story from my previous work. Now thinking back to what happened, it was a nice and funny little story. Background. I used to work for a Cisco Gold partner company as a network specialist in a business-to-business environment. Cisco contracts these partner companies to offload part of their Technical Assistance Center responsibilities. Other businesses would get discounts purchasing partner support contracts than if they were to purchase support straight from Cisco TAC. My responsibility would be to try to resolve issues from the end customer, and only escalate issues that could not be solved by us to Cisco. I won't go into detail, but Cisco strongly dislikes partners escalating too many tickets, and there are penalties involved if a large amount of easy tickets were escalated to them. With that said, certain customers do abuse the system and ask us to escalate anything and everything. I have worked with this customer a couple of times in the past. I'll call her Karen, as this story could very well fit into Entitled People, if not for the technical aspect. Her email signature is quite eye-catching in large bold letters. CCIE number, business name, Senior Network Specialist. For those not from my field, CCIE is the highest industry certification Cisco offer from a certain aspect of working. Being a CCIE myself, I know very well the amount of work and experience needed to achieve this level of certification through the proper channel. There are, of course, crash courses and boot camps out there, providing a much easier way of obtaining this certification, and Karen reeks the smell of boot camp from my past interactions with her. My expectation of her was low, but never was I prepared for what I had the pleasure of witnessing. On that fateful day, a ticket from her came in when I am the only person on shift. Problem: network slow, switch dropping packets. Yes, this should be frame for people who want to nitpick. But unless we want to be 100% accurate in a document, we users normally just call them packets. Following standard procedure, I collected information from her via email, such as time of occurrence, business impact, any changes of device configurations, and tech support file from the device in question. Being working in the position for a few years, I have developed a good intuition as to what may be causing the problem, and from the files I collected, I quickly found the exact cause of her issue. There is a large amount of input error on the interface. Typically, this would be caused by a bad connection or defective part. Someone with basic understanding should be able to spot and deal with this type of issue. With that in mind, I replied to her, "Hi Karen, there appears to be a large amount of input error on this interface. Here is an excerpt of the output showing the error. If and when possible, can you ask someone on site who has physical access to the device to reseat, unplug and plug back in the SFP module and cable and monitor the error counter. If the counter still increments after the reseat, then the module is likely defective. Please replace it with a new SPF if that's the case." I thought that was that, but 2 hours later, I receive a phone call from Karen. "Hi, may I ask who's calling and what is the ticket number you're calling about?" "Hi, this is Karen," and she gives me the ticket number. "The problem is having a severe business impact. Can you escalate this to Cisco?" "Hi, Karen. I was the person who worked on this ticket. The issue is caused by a high amount of input error. Have you asked the site technician to check and reset the SFP?" "I'm a CCIE. If it was that simple, don't you think I would have caught onto it? Get me Cisco Tech now. I don't have anything else to say to you." In my head, I'm thinking, yeah, why didn't you catch on to it, Ms. CCIE? "Sorry, Karen, I can't just escalate everything to them without doing troubleshooting first. As it stands, the interface issue needs to be resolved. If reseating and replacing the SFP does not resolve the issue, I would be happy to escalate to TAC for you." "Gosh, why is it always so difficult for you?" She really meant me specifically, as I am the one consistently pushing back on her tickets. "To get Cisco. Get me Cisco now, or I'll have a word with your manager." I like to imagine her stomping her feet on the other side of the phone as she says this. There's nothing else I can do at this moment, and pushing back on her any further wouldn't do me any good. So I got Cisco TAC involved and jumped onto a group meeting with TAC and Karen. Over the session, TAC asked Karen to share her screen, log into the device, requested control, and perform troubleshooting on the device. "Hi ma'am, there are a lot of input errors on this interface, specifically CRC errors. This is causing packets to be dropped. I know this is a production environment, but if someone is on site, can they quickly reseat the interface SFP and check the cable to see if it's a connection issue? The process should be quick and should not cause a major outage. If you want to be on the absolutely safe side, then we can do this over a scheduled maintenance window." "What is a CRC error?" I facepalmed so hard it hurt, and then quickly double-checked to see if I was on mute. Over the next 15 minutes, I had the pleasure of listening to TAC, who I later found out to be a CCNP, one level below CCIE, explaining to a CCIE what CRC is, what may have caused the CRC error, how the CRC error and input error in general can impact network traffic, why reseating can resolve the issue, what to do if reseating does not work, in the meantime soft banging my head on my desk in disbelief. After that, we had a site technician check the cable and SFP. They had spare SFP on site, so everything was resolved when they swapped with a spare. I was not surprised when the ticket came back with a dissatisfactory rating. My team lead just shared it with me out of curiosity and for a laugh, as he knows my abilities. "How was your experience?" "Very unpleasant. Tech is condescending and won't do what I asked. He even questioned my credential as a CCIE, as if I don't know my stuff." How knowledgeable was the support representative? "He completely doesn't know anything and should go flip burgers instead. It's a waste of money to hire someone like him." "Would you recommend the company to others?" "No, company is completely useless and did nothing to resolve the issue. The issue was in the end resolved by Cisco anyways. Having this company as a middleman between us and Cisco only delayed the issue from being resolved. Why is this company even involved?" Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Terrific Tales of Technology, Episode 9. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. If you liked the video, then please do click the like button and possibly leave a comment. If you aren't subscribed, then clicking the subscription button will resolve that technical issue. Well, I don't know what things are like where you are, but here in Scotland we're starting to move into slightly better weather, which means I'm going to have to get up off my lazy butt, repair my lawnmower, because it currently has a wheel off. Just needs an end cap, so it should be fixable. Actually, I've kind of been sitting like that since last year, needing to be repaired. So repair that, then I have to start cutting the grass and doing the hedges and all those annoying, boring things that I don't like doing. But they have to be done. And I'll try and get my lazy butt to do that at some point this week. Not today, though. Okay, and with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.